How's everybody doing in fly tying land today? This is Pete from Spawn Fly Fish, and it is in the middle of chum and coho season. And so, guess what we're tying? You got it, another salmon fly, and it's time to just have some fun on the vise. So, today in the vise, we do have the Ahrex SA280 size 2, and let's start playing. So, got some thread here, purple 6/0, 140. Anything like that'll be great. Truth is, whatever you have at home will work just fine. All right, so today we're going to be thinking pink, blue, purple. So keep that in mind as we go, and hopefully some of this kind of makes sense. All right, taking that thread just to give ourselves a little indicator of where we want that tail to stop. And here at Spawn, we don't always play with the nicest and freshest and prettiest. So here we've got a Spawn Polliwog tail in purple, but you see that dye missed a little bit there. So we'll just use the portion that didn't miss, the good spots, and tie in like so. And then by doing that, we're going to still be able to utilize one of this tail. That's not quite good enough to put in a pack and send out to one of you, but by all means, it's still an okay tail. So I'll use it. Josh will use it. We'll make the most of it. So there you go. All right. So this is somewhat in line with the Bugmeister again and all that good stuff. However, we're just going to throw a bunch of crap in here today and make this something special, something fun. Not really a Bugmeister, not really a Heisenberg or anything Bugmeister. I got dry flies on the brain. So keep that in mind. We're just kind of having fun here on the vise today. I don't know if all of you have seen this. This is Jellyblobfritz chenille. They make this in two sizes. This is the smaller size, 8mm. And that's what we're going to be using for our body today. So here's the purple. That gives us the pink. And I know you're going, well, Pete, what about the blue? I got you. So as our hackle, I've got two Schlappen feathers here. I've got blue and pink. So there we go. And all those colors that we discussed earlier involved right off the get-go. Speaking of right off the get-go, I like to forget this step. Let's not do that today. Crystal flash, right? I know you got some at home. This is pearl blue. Any kind of blue would be great. And we're just going to get this tied in. And again, keeping this on the sides of our tail. I don't want it going on the bottom, top, and all that good stuff. Doesn't mean you can't. It's just not what I want for today. There we go. Tied in your side, my side. Let's just mash that up a little bit for pretty close to a tail length and call it good, like so. All right, now, where are those Schlappen feathers? And I do have the tips trimmed out for easy tie-in. And there we go. Just going to mash those all the way down. Not going to trim them out. No need. Just make sure those are tied in securely all the way back. All right. So now back to this Jellyblobfritz that I was talking about. Sure, you could use any number or types of whatever of chenilles, but you want to keep something in mind here, and that's how big do you want that inner core to show up? How much visibility, right? So all I'm trying to do is have something inside that offers material to catch or cushion the Schlappen when I wrap it, but I'm also looking for something that gives a little hint of color coming out of the center of that core, and this pink is what I want. So all kind of makes sense, at least in my head, and when you tie, it should make sense to you in your head most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't have to, but if it does, it'll go a lot easier for you. All right. Get that tied down. I should mention, trying not to crowd this eye. We'll see how that goes. All right. So now let's pick up our Schlappen feathers together. All right, pink and blue. Going for a spaced wrapping here, not touching wraps, any of that good stuff. And palmer forward. Just kind of stroke back those fibers on each wrap. Don't need to trap any fibers. We're past all that good stuff. And one more here, and I think we're going to call that good. But I do really like the way this is already starting to look. And just make it clean, tie off like so. Bring it up. Now we can get our thread in between the quill and where the fibers come off, and that will work just fine. Boom. All right, so now, yes, of course, we're going to incorporate some of the things you've seen previously in the last few videos, but it would be boring just to do that same thing. So let's change this a little. So here I am creating that space, right? So while I fix this chronic breaking thread here, I think I've got a bad spool, honestly. I've broken this stuff quite a bit, and I should just call it good, but we're on camera, folks. Gotta deal with it. I'm so sorry. All right. So again, let me get this thread started. There we go. No issue. But what I was trying to say is, as far as creating that space behind the hook eye, I'm looking for at least the equivalent of another hook eye of working space. And I think this will be just fine. Just gotta keep that in mind though. Spacing. So here we've got a Guinea feather dyed turquoise. This might even be dark turquoise. This is one of them we've got from Whiting available. So we have the tails, saddles, and capes. And I want to say this came off of one of the saddles I snagged, but I'm just going to get this tied in by the tip here. Don't need a lot of this, right? This is simply a pattern breaker. So I don't want this monotony of a solid color throughout. And I'm not a big fan. I like broken up schemes, if you will, so that as it moves, there are just hints and glints of a certain color or a flash showing through, right? So all I want to do is give a little highlight, if you will, a little speckle inside this body. And that's exactly what I've got going here with that. Just, what was that, 2.5, 3 wraps of Guinea. Like, it doesn't take a lot, and it's good because the quills on Guinea can get unruly toward the base, and that's not what we're looking for. We don't want to make this difficult. We just want to make it pretty. All right, there we go. A little Guinea on there. So now we've got another accent point. Make sure that's really well tied down. And now let's get into some Marabou. And this is Spey Marabou from Fish Hunter. And yes, so if you're looking at the top or convex side, I've removed the left portion. If you're looking at the bottom, I've removed the right portion. So get this tied in. This is again by the tip. And you can see I've trimmed it out there for accuracy and ease of tie-in. So just get like so. And by all means, you don't have to peel one side, but in keeping with the theme of what I've got going today, I want a lot of flow from these fibers, but I also want to be able to see what is underneath these fibers, right? So just think small accent throughout, and this kind of makes more sense. All right, so let's get a couple good wraps here. Really let that Marabou do its thing. All right. I'm not going to overcrowd that as far as like getting too much material. That's exactly what I am looking for right there. So once this gets wet, right, all this slicks back, and then what's going to happen is this simply breaks up that pattern. So you're still going to see everything from pink to blue to purple. There we go. All right, so now let's get this cleaned up a little bit. And yeah, I think we got enough room to make this work. All right, one more. We've got legs, crusher legs, Chicon'es regular crusher legs to be exact. This is this color scheme is blue barred clear. All right, so I'm just gonna lay these down on my side here. I'm looking to get to the end of that tail roughly, and voila. My side, and let's come over to your side. So, boom. Let's see. I can see where I want to trim that. I'm going to grab it right now before I let go of these things and lose them in the Marabou. So there you go. Now we've got some rubber legs. Again, this thing is built to move, bounce, flow, you name it, it's going to do it. All for the sake of catching those stinking coho and chum, right? Drive you absolutely bonkers. If you haven't fished for these fish, I highly recommend it. Oh, you see that little Marabou there? See if we can avoid getting that stuck in there. All right. One more whip finish here and we will move on to the front portion. There we go. Now it still wants to play. There we go. That poor feather is going to end up not getting to be part of this fly. What can you do? Not everybody wants to be in there. Trim that out as carefully as you can. That's great. And keep in mind this will be attached to a shank. So a little bit of pink fuzz there is not the end of the world by any means, but very quickly let's get a nice coat of head cement on all these wonderful thread wraps. And so you can see where those little bits of that pink Marabou are sticking right there. Easy to grab those out if you really wanted to. All right, beauty. Pop this out of the vise for a minute. Let that cement dry while we get that front portion started. All right, there we go. I'm excited about this one. Hope you are too. So let's get a shank going in here. And this is a spawn jig shank in 60 degree. It happens to be 30 millimeter. And for the bead, I've got the spawn slotted tungsten football bead, 7.5 millimeter in hot pink. And then I've got some lead-free 0.025 weighted wire here. I'm just going to get that started so that we can secure that bead. And I'm not going to go like last time and cover the entire shank there. You already know how to do that. So if you want that complete even underbody right from the get-go, that's how you would do it. If it's not something that is really pressing for you, well, then this is the way to go. Use the materials that you're using to keep the underbody even. A couple different ways, right? Always a couple different ways. Let me just push that bead up where it's going to need to be. Get that weighted wire pushed into the cavity a little bit, and let's get our thread going here. And there we go. Trim out that tag end. All right, so let me just get some wraps here of thread on our weighted wire wraps, and then we can secure, of course, and make sure nothing's going to move on us. So there's enough of those angled wraps, I think, and we'll just come in and get some straight ons. All right, so now let's come back to this arm. I want to, of course, work my thread under that arm to some degree so that when I come in, I can, kind of use my fingers there to pinch and pull down as I'm getting my thread around that. There we go. Nothing to it. Now come back all the way. Finish tying down that arm securely. Oh, there we go. Great. So now just adjust this ever so slightly. Beauty. All right. I do have spider wire. All right. And I've simply creased it and folded it over itself. So now I'm going to tie in the two open ends, making sure the whole time that I do this that it doesn't twist on itself or spin or any of that, and keep it right on top of that shank. That's it. Nothing on one side or the other. It's just right on top. There we go. Solidify that. And now it's time for our beads. And yes, we are using 3D beads in Fuchsia as our attractor between the hook and shank. And again, like whether it be a Heisenberg or whatever different pattern, like a lot of those flies use 2 hooks. We can't use 2 hooks here in our systems for the most part. So I'm not going to tie it with 2 hooks simply to cut off a hook, right? That's kind of crazy. So just tie it with a shank. Don't worry about the second hook. All right, so here's our tail section that would absolutely work as a fly on its own. And once again, if you're tying an articulated fly and every piece or part would catch fish on its own, well, then it would stand to reason that if you put all those pieces together, you should have a winning pattern, right? That's how I look at it. Maybe I'm crazy. There we go. And oh, I don't want that going over to your side. I want this right on top. So a couple loose wraps. Here's why. To ensure when this is tied down, I don't want that bead bumping the back of that shank. I just want it just behind that so that there's a little bit of space for movement, both in the way that this hook is going to swing behind the shank and also that those beads can click together just a little bit and give a visual and an audio cue at the same time. Two fish with one stone. All right, now I'm going to cut that loop where it was closed from our 50-pound spider wire. And again, yes, any braid that you have or connecting wire, trailer wire, any of that's great. Use what makes you happy and let your fly do what it's supposed to do, right? Trim out these tag ends, and then we're ready to get into a repeat sort of this rear portion. All right, nothing crazy, folks. You've got the skill set to do all of this, so don't stress. All right, here's our next set of Schlappen, once again, pink and blue paired together. And so let's just get that tied in right now. Nothing to it. All right, our Jellyblobfritz here in pink, and you know, so what I like about this, the profile is a little bit bigger than like a matted down fine chenille. However, it's not so big as to distract from the accompanying materials, i.e. our Schlappen in this case. Right, so you still will see a bit of that flash of the pink coming through there as this travels through the water. That is exactly what I want. So, you know, you don't always have to find the perfect material, but if you have a bunch of materials, then you should use what makes the most sense. Again, what makes the most sense to me might not always make the most sense to you, and vice versa. It's fly tying. You're supposed to be doing this so that you know what you're fishing, and you know you have an opinion of what would catch more fish. Well, put it on a hook. You know, it's the ultimate put your money where your mouth is kind of move. Tie that fly, man. Show me that it works. That's what inspires others to go, well, he's on to something. Maybe I should figure it out. All right, he's come in with that beautiful Schlappen. And, oh, so that hook works. I don't know if you could see that or not, but it works. It's good to know. All right. And even space, all that good stuff. Just take your time, work your way up that shank, releasing all that pink and blue as we go. Release a few more before we get up there too far. And this is going to be so nasty. I can't wait. All right, so this is going to be the last wrap right there. I'm going to go ahead and sort of peel back in my finger those fibers and then tie them off right like so. Yahtzee. Get a couple secure wraps in front and trim all these butts out. Great. Well done, team. All right, so if you have a little comb, go ahead and brush that real quick just to release any trapped fibers, but it looks pretty good. All right, so keeping with this repeat theme, here's another one of those dark turquoise Guinea feathers. And I'm just going to come in right here in the front of our Schlappen and get that tied in. Trim out just a little bit of a tag end here in the front. All right. And if you want less speckle, by all means peel one side of that feather, you know, the lead edge, so that the trailing edge can release as you wrap. And if not, if you like this amount, well, then just wrap that feather. It's going to be okay. All right, there we go. I just love those dots and how it breaks up that monotony behind it. There we go. Anything that looks a little more interesting, right? I'm a fan. And let's tie that off on the bottom this time, like so. Now in this one, I will do my best to put these stinking legs in before the Marabou. I didn't mean to do that last time. I meant to put them in a little bit earlier, but you know how it goes. Got a lot going on in this fly. It's easy enough to forget something. All right, so my legs, again, these are crusher legs, blue barred clear. And on this one, I'm shooting for just past the midway point, just past those beads. Nothing crazy. Just do want to keep those legs on the side. I don't need them coming underneath or on the top. Just want them to be staying their home. There we go. All right. So to match these, we're coming back just past that bead. Call that good. All right. So I know looking pretty yummy. I think so. We got one more thing. So now we've got that purple in the back. I want a little purple here in the front to reconnect with that purple and keeping this mindset of pink, blue, purple as we go through this fly. And so this is purple Marabou prepared the same way as the pink, in that I have removed the leading edge of fibers and I have trimmed the tip for a clean tie in. And now I simply wrap her up. And I do love the look of how those blue legs are going to look against this purple too. Yeah, I'm a fan. All right. Two good wraps right there. And so I'm just going to get on top. Oh, maybe not. I don't like that spacing. So let's just leave it here underneath and get this sucker tied off. I don't want to catch all those fibers. There we go. Keep them out of the way as best you can. And once again, this is where a little bit of water on your tying table absolutely makes a huge difference. Get your fingertips wet and you can control all those nasty little fibers trying to get out of there. I think we'll be just fine. And then again, this is Spey Marabou from Fish Hunter in purple. Beauty. All right, so if my hands weren't stained from the little bit of dye coming out here, I'd just give them a lick and stroke those fibers back, but I don't feel like tasting dye today, so I'm just going for it. And whip finish. There's the first one. Let's get another one in there because we do know that this is going to get chewed on. And cut that thread out. Oh yeah, baby. That is what I had in mind when I got up today. Blue, pink, purple, salmon. Head cement. Get those thread wraps completely covered. And then after it is done drying, do your best to be patient. But if you're like me, throw patience and caution out the window. Grab this fly, grab a rod, and hit the water. Because it's going to catch fish. When you catch fish, you're happy. That's what we're looking for. There you go. If anything, I would call this a flowmeister. Lots of movement, lots of breathing elements, and lots of ability to catch those monster fish. And that's kind of what the point is. So, hope you guys enjoyed this one. I sure had fun. If you liked it, by all means, click like, click subscribe, and we will see you all on the water.